For the last few weeks, we've been uncomfortable. We've been talking about how our church community, any church community, is uncomfortable. The first week we talked about how we really have to give up what Dietrich Bonhoeffer called the wish dream of church. We have this idea of what church should be like, what the perfect church would be like. We all have our ideas. We think, well, it would be the right kind of preaching, the right kind of music, the right kind of coffee, all the things that would just make us comfortable, especially the right kind of people. Definitely no people that make us uncomfortable. But we don't get that. That's not what we get. We get this. This is what we get. Even the seats are uncomfortable. But that being uncomfortable, God uses it to shape us into the kind of people that God meant us to be. Because we really shouldn't be comfortable in the church. The church is founded on faith in a guy that died on a cross. And the cross is definitely not comfortable. A humiliating, excruciating way to die. And that's at the center of our faith. That Jesus took that symbol of death and humiliation and turned it around and made it into the symbol of eternal life. He took the worst that the world had to offer and made it point to the best that God has to offer. But that's not really comfortable. That's not really comfortable. It challenges us. Just like other people in the church can make us uncomfortable. Sometimes in good ways and sometimes in not so good ways. Sometimes we have people in the church that are like Job's comforters. And yes, remember, you need the air quotes around Job's comforters. The people that when Job lost everything said, "Hey Job, you know why things are so bad for you? Because you are such a miserable sinner and you deserve it." That's great. When you get sick, when you lose your job, when your child dies, wouldn't it be just so comforting if somebody came by and said, "This is happening because it's all your fault"? That's what Job's friends did. Not really helpful. But it's also true that people can make us uncomfortable in a good way, like Nathan and David. David did something really terrible, was trying to get away with it, and Nathan said, God knows. In fact, everybody knows. You're not fooling anyone. And David was able to turn his life around. Not comfortable, but in the end, very good. Well, today's the last day. Next week is going to be much more comfortable. Next week is Reformation Sunday, so we're going back to the liturgical calendar, back to the tradition for at least the next 2 Sundays for Reformation Sunday and All Saints Sunday. But today we get a little taste of what all this uncomfortableness is pointing toward. Why do we have to go through being part of a community that makes us uncomfortable, that challenges us, that pushes us in new directions? Well, it's because this is what we're headed for. We're headed for the kingdom of heaven. We're headed for this place, this gathering, this communion where there's no more pain, where there's no more suffering, where there's no more tears, that God literally wipes the tears away. But the thing is even that place is challenging. Because if you read that text that Mr. Bonzani read, it's a gathering of everybody. All tribes, all languages, all peoples. It's a smorgasbord of people from all over creation. And the thing is people who were first hearing this, it would have been extremely challenging for them to believe. It would have been really hard to believe that people from all over. Because we know that some people just shouldn't get in. The Scythians, I mean, come on, really? You're going to let them in? They don't even live in houses. They're nomads. They wander around the countryside herding animals. You're really going to let them in to the kingdom? Well, yes. Yes, the door is open. Because it's not about what we do, it's about accepting the invitation. It's about accepting the grace that God freely gives. That's what the story about the wedding banquet is ultimately about. The invitation goes out. And it is possible to refuse the invitation. It is. It's possible. It's possible for us to say, we don't want to go there. We don't want to be part of it. We don't want grace. We don't want forgiveness. We don't want love. It's possible. I don't think it happens very much, but it's possible. But here's the thing, is that God just doesn't give up on that. God sends the invitation again and says, just bring everybody on in, and people will be transformed. See, that's really the thing, is I think when we think of, well, I wouldn't want to be in heaven with those people. The thing is that those people are going to be really different than they were around here. You know, if Omar al-Bashir, you know who Omar al-Bashir is? Does anybody know who Omar al-Bashir is? He's the person in the world today who's the most like Hitler. He's the ruler of Sudan. Been the ruler of Sudan for decades. Key planner of genocide, right? Literally responsible for the deaths of millions of people. Now, and on the one hand, if you said to me, well, Omar al-Bashir, what does he deserve? Well, he deserves to rot in the deepest pit of hell forever. That's what we would say. But that's not how God looks at him. God looks at him as, this is one of my kids. And has he gone off the path? Far, far, far off the path? Yes, he's gone about as far off the path as one could possibly go. But what's God's goal for Omar al-Bashir? God's goal for Omar al-Bashir is to transform him into somebody completely different, so that he could sit down at the banquet with us. That's hard. Does that make you uncomfortable? It makes me uncomfortable. But it also gives me a lot of hope. Because in those moments of deep honesty with myself, I know that I'm just not all that different from Omar al-Bashir. That I fall short every single day. And I'm grateful. I'm enormously grateful for the grace of God that gives me a place at that table. And see, when we look at it that way, we can see that God's plan really is better than our plan. And that place, that kingdom that involves people from all over, people like us, people not like us, but everyone transformed into the image of Jesus. Boy, that'll be great. And you won't even have to be uncomfortable. Thanks be to God.